All right, hello everybody. Right on noon here, so I'm going to get started pretty quick. We're just waiting for a few more people to sign in. So while I started, I thought I'd just, while I waited, I thought I'd start by telling you a little bit about what we're going to be doing today. Of course, welcome to webinar number 3, We Speak Translate. This is the BCMA webinar series that's sponsored by the Royal BC Museum and Archives, so thank you very much to them for sponsoring that. I thought I'd start while we wait for a few more people to sign in with a little bit of a funny story. I worked in France back in 2011 for a summer, and I worked there at the Juno Beach Center in Normandy doing some tours, and I found that working there really was very French, which I guess makes sense, it's France. But I found it quite difficult. You know, I'm an English speaker primarily, although I am fluent in French, but I had to work in French every single day. And so this is me in case you're not turning on your video. But basically, I was giving these tours, and I found that reading signs was a bit of a problem. Sometimes they'd have a picture, sometimes to help you out, but sometimes not. And I'd be looking at that, and I'd not really know what to do with it. And so one day at the end of my summer, I decided to take a little mini holiday to the Channel Islands, to the island of Jersey. If you know the Channel Islands, they're British-controlled islands in the middle of the Atlantic, in the channel next to Normandy. And I thought that it would be great to go there, get a little bit of an English break, and be with my people, you know, the British people who speak English all the time. It would be a perfect relaxation of my mind, so I wouldn't have to speak French all the time. Then the first thing I see when I get off the boat is this sign that says Bienvenue à Jersey. And it turns out that even in England, the official language of government on the Channel Islands is French. So I wish that I had had something as good as what we're going to learn about today, which is the Google Translate app and the Google Translate work with the Intercultural Association of Greater Victoria. So before we get started with that, I see that we've had a few more people sign on, which is great. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we use this platform. So if you're new here, you'll notice a black bar that's provided by the webinar platform. You'll see a little chat window right there. It's a little button for chat. For some of you, it may be under the More tab. If you click that and open it up, you should be able to send us a chat. And we just ask that you do it by clicking in the To box to all panelists and attendees. This way we can all see everybody's messages. We'll still read them out just to make sure that everybody knows what they're saying. But if you give it a try now, maybe you want to write in where you're joining us from, either a city or an organization. That way we know who's on there and we can see whether or not it works. So go ahead if you can find it. Coquitlam, first one. Nice work. Now, Coquitlam send a message to all panelists. I don't know if there's an opportunity for you guys to send it to all panelists and attendees. We found that last time, although it might have changed. This platform seems to update on us. So if nobody's seeing, oh, Carolyn might have gotten it. We're getting lots of people writing in now. So it looks like most of you are writing in just to myself and to Kate. But if you have a question or a comment and you can click all panelists and attendees, you should be able to send your message to everybody. Some people might not be seeing it. So it looks like Sarah might have had it. It's just above your little message window. It says To, and then there's a all panelists or all panelists and attendees. All panelists and everyone, even everyone, try everyone. You're probably looking at a little bit different thing than I am, but anyways, looks like some of you have found it, and either way, we can see your questions here, so we'll be able to answer them either way. Some people are also finding the raise hand button. That's good, but we're not going to be using that. Anyways, let's move on. Looks like you're all getting it. And if you can only do all panelists, some people are saying that, then we'll read it out. Like I said, it changes every month, so good to know that there's no everyone. All right, well, we tried it. Thanks anyways for trying, everybody. Anyways, let's move on to this month's presenters. I'd like to introduce, and I'm going to just bring her in here. I'd like to introduce Kate. Kate Longpre is the Community Integration Coordinator at the Intercultural Association of Greater Victoria. Hi, Kate.
Hello.
And Kate, I have your little bio. Can I just read out your bio here?
You bet.
Sure. So Kate works strategically across sectors to ensure that resettled refugees entering the Greater Victoria area are successfully integrated into welcoming communities. Now, Kate approached Google Translate in September 2016, so just recently, with the idea for the We Speak Translate project. And in April 2017, just a couple months ago, the project launched here in Victoria. It was the first location worldwide to initiate the project. So really cool, and we're really happy to have Kate join us today. Kate will run through her presentation. She's got a whole set of slides that'll teach us how to use the platform, and also have some opportunities for asking questions throughout it and for trying it yourself. So if you have any technical questions, you can also write those into the chat, and I'll be monitoring that. But basically, I'll just get out of the way of Kate, and we'll go from there. So take it away, Kate. I'll stop my screen, and you can go ahead and do yours.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. If you can't hear me.
Oh.
Okay, so good morning, everyone. And today we're going to do the We Speak Translate training. And as Ben was saying, this program began, the idea began in September 2016 when I reached out to Google with this idea. And essentially what has happened since is I'm conducting trainings with community stakeholders, institutions, agencies, community groups on how to use the Google Translate app and essentially becoming a power user. Upon completion of the 45-minute training, participants are given a We Speak Translate decal, so that's either a little sticker that says I Speak Translate, and we also have window decals and other stickers. And this is to become a visual symbol around communities that we value diversity, inclusion, and we're going to work strategically with newcomers while communication barriers, or sort of while communication skills are developing. So what we're going to do is I'm going to run through the presentation, we'll move through the PowerPoint, and then at the end, or sort of halfway through, I'm going to ask you to get out your phones and we'll actually try some of the applications within the app together. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to put them in the chat box. And if there's any information that you want to keep for after the presentation, please don't hesitate to take a picture of your screen. I'm not able to share the presentation afterwards, but as we get to the end, there's one part that I will suggest that you do take a picture of. So we will get started, and yeah, so we're going to start with a little video here that just explains why Google cares.
أنا ماشي نفتح المي. أنا كنت جيت من سوريا من محافظة طابة. طلعت أنا وزوجتي وولادي، كان الوضع شوي خطير بسوريا، كان الوضع مش آمن. صراحة أثناء دراستي ما عرفت شيء عن الكلام ده.
After the village that they live close to was bombed, Imad and Razan packed all their things in a taxi and they fled. When they arrived, they spoke no English.
The children, they've had some very painful experiences. You want to overcome that initial fear that they won't know how to communicate because you want to fit in.
You're new and this is a totally new place and trying to figure things out. There's a lot of shyness and apprehension. The biggest thing that we run into when students come from another country is they're going to struggle because they don't have the language background.
Hamoudi, what do you like to learn in school?
ماذا تريد أن تتعلم في المدرسة؟
Write. You like to write?
Yeah.
Arabic goes the other direction. So using Google Translate has helped because it actually puts it the other direction for them.
With the language development, the biggest change is their confidence level.
Come inside.
Now, when they can put a sentence together, they're very proud.
See, my name.
They've gotten more comfortable, but it's a work in progress.
مش كل شيء عم يفهموه مش كل شيء بس هم مبسوطين.
What's your favorite snack?
ما هي وجبة خفيفة المفضلة لديك؟
Pizza.
Pizza, that's a good snack.
If you can't hear, please do let me know. I have to take out my headset to be able to present to you. So just give me one quick second here. Okay, so the first thing you have to do is install the app on your phone, and this can be done either through the App Store or the Play Store, and it's free of charge. So if you haven't already got the Google Translate app, feel free to download it. If you have an older version or you've had Google Translate downloaded on your phone for some time, it might be good to delete it and then reinstall, because there are some updates, and sometimes we find that with older versions, you don't have access to all the capabilities in the app. So Google Translate uses machine translation to translate over 100 different languages. And what I say is, you know, the app is not always perfect, but it's a moment of connection that we might not otherwise have been able to have. So sometimes it's finding just that one or two words that you can have translated that will move the conversation forward. But again, there are times when the app does not work. You know, the translation is not always 100% perfect. I have a funny story that I was trying to communicate to a woman that spoke Arabic, that she had received a donation from London Drugs. Anyways, I could tell that, you know, the translation, she wasn't understanding what I was trying to translate with the app. When finally a colleague came in and said, you know, I said, can you help us? And he said, well, she's very confused because you keep asking her if she wants narcotics. So, I mean, that's a terrible example, but, you know, we will never forget that that interaction, that humor, and that's connected us, and that helps us build community. So that's just something to keep in mind, that the translation isn't always 100% perfect. But when we had our launch up in April 2017, we did have one of two interaction designers for Google Translate here, and they said they're always working to update the app and improve the translations. So just so you know that work is always being done on that. So there are many different ways to get Google Translate. Obviously on the web, you can do a search, again through a Google search. In Google Chrome, there's actually an extension, and that's a piece I will show you later on. And then using the app, and this is what we are going to be focusing on first today. So I'm going to begin by showing you how it works.
Hello. Imagine if you could understand and communicate with people across 100 languages. With the Google Translate app, now you can. Translate lets you connect with the world around you, no matter where in the world you are. It's free, and it's always with you right on your phone. Let's try it out. Tap the microphone to use your very own voice. Is there a pharmacy nearby? Hay una farmacia cercana. You can even have a complete conversation with someone who speaks a completely different language. Just select your language and their language and start talking. And wait. I know a shortcut. Your speech will be translated loud and clear, and you'll be able to see it too. Now let's say you're looking at a menu in a language you can't read. Using your camera, you can translate the words instantly. It could save you from ordering something that sets your mouth on fire. And it even works offline. Speaking of offline, so what if you don't have data? Or you're in a place with no Wi-Fi? Don't worry, you've got this. You don't need internet to use Translate. Just download the offline translation file for the languages you need. Translate works without data, in a jungle, on an airplane, or in deep space. Google Translate. Have a conversation. Use your camera. Use it everywhere. 100 languages right in your hand. We speak Translate.
우리는 번역해요. Наш язык переводчик.
Do you?
Okay. So again, my suggestion is just, oops, hold on, is you don't feel like you have to try these features as we go through the presentation. It's better just to listen. We're going to move quite quickly through the presentation. We will have a chance to try everything out about halfway through the presentation. So there's different ways to translate the world around you. So you can type to translate, write to translate, talk through a microphone function, see using your camera, and translate offline. So we're going to start with the text translation. Now this is available in all languages. So essentially what you're going to do is you select your languages, and you can see in this screenshot they have English and Spanish. You could just click on those languages to select a different language. You can type in the text box or paste your text, and then you always want to make sure that you hit that little blue arrow button. Even if you don't hit the blue arrow button, you will see your translation, but when you hit the blue arrow button, it brings up that little blue translation box below. And within that box, you have options to hear your translation, create a sign, favorite that translation, and send the translation as well through email or text. So we will try that out in just a few minutes. Really important, make sure you use simple, clear phrases and avoid slang words. And again, sometimes it's just getting a few of those keywords rather than a complete sentence. It's which you can do, but sometimes it's just those few keywords. Okay, so the handwritten character recognition, this is available in 93 languages, and this is ideal if you're working with someone who has an alphabet that's not found on a normal keyboard, so perhaps they write in characters that we don't necessarily have on our regular keyboards. To select this function, you're in your little home screen, and there's a little squiggle line. You can see it highlighted by that red circle. Sometimes it's also a pen. When you click on the squiggle or the pen, it's going to open up this second window. And down below, you can write with your finger a character. So if you're speaking Arabic or Chinese or Japanese, the actual characters can be written in that text box with your finger. When you're finished writing, you should see some options right above there. It's in that blue script, giving you, say, is this what you mean to have written? Is this the word you wanted to have translated? So you can click on the word that you meant to have translated. And again, you always press that little blue arrow. It gives you all the capacity when it moves you into that little blue translation box. And we'll look at that in just a few minutes. So again, it's for people who can't use the keyboard in their language or don't have access to that keyboard in their language. The simultaneous translator in your phone, this is, you can see it's the little mic bottom down at the bottom, and it's available in 32 languages. While this is probably the most important feature in the app, it's probably also the one that needs the most work, and Google Translate is aware of that. But there is a few things that I'm going to show you to how to make it work better for you, and some tips and tricks. If you start using it now, it's going to be picking up everything I'm saying, and so perhaps don't click on the microphone while I'm presenting right now. We will get a chance to do it. But again, you're in your home screen. You tap on the little microphone button. You can see it's highlighted with that red square. And then you can speak, perhaps let's say English, into the phone, and then you wait, and that will be translated back to you. If you're having a conversation mode, the other person can then speak in their language and have it translated back into English. Really important for this is make sure you speak slowly and clearly using simple sentences. It can be impacted by background noise, so just be aware of that. If you're in a very noisy place, that can impact your translations. And always make sure that your volume of your phone is completely turned up, because that way you can hear the playback. Some people say it's not working, but just the volume on your phone isn't turned up. Now, this is not something that you have to do, but you can select dialects in Google Translate. So this is how it's done on an Android, and it's very similar on an iPhone. You go into your settings within Google Translate, and then you press the speech input button. That's going to bring up different dialects. So in this case, we're looking at Arabic dialects. In my work, I'm working with a lot of Syrian refugees, and there isn't actually a Syrian Arabic available in Google Translate at this point. What we often tell folks is they could use Egyptian Arabic, because a lot of Arabic television it uses an Egyptian Arabic. Other dialects that might be useful is Lebanese, or you can just leave it as the default dialect. So you don't have to worry too much about it. You can also go into English and look at what are the English dialects. That's always kind of interesting to look at as well. And this is what it looks like on an iPhone. You go into your settings tab, which is typically at the bottom of the Google Translate screen. You go to speech input, and you can choose the language and the dialects which you would like to use. This is the last thing I'm going to show you before we try out some of these features. So the instant translation in your camera lens is probably the coolest function. Everyone sort of gets excited about this one. It's available in 29 languages, and essentially, so essentially what you do is in your home screen, you can tap the little camera icon there. And sometimes you're going to be prompted to download a language file, which you can do. And then literally you're going to point your camera. So you're essentially pointing your camera at a sign or other text, and you will see within your camera lens the translation appear there. Now, you can also do this for longer text. So imagine holding your camera screen, trying to read a sign as it's sort of moving back and forth is tricky. So Google Translate has made it so if it's for a longer text of a document, what you do is you hold your camera over the document, and this time you press the little camera button at the bottom of the screen. You'll see that the camera is then scanning the document in a lot of cases for English. Once it's scanned the document, you should see all these tiny little boxes around the words. You highlight those words with your fingers, and again, always press the little blue arrow button, and you'll get your translation, which is in the fourth screen. You'll have the English above and the translation below. So if for any reason the camera is not illuminated with the languages that you've chosen, it just means it's not available in that language. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to stop my screen share on the presentation, and so I can see the chats. And we are going to try out some of these features. So the first thing I'd like you to do is open your Google Translate app. And it'll be a little bit tricky for you to see, but you should just be on this main home page. Your little home button should be illuminated down at the bottom. So just bring up your main home page. Again, if at any point you have questions, this is the first time I've done the presentation as a webinar, so just feel free to ask me questions, and we can can get those figured out. So right now, my two languages, no, well, do you need data for the photo option? Google Translate says that the photo option works offline. I have seen it work offline, and I've also seen that it hasn't worked offline. So the text to translate always works offline, but I have questions about whether the photo always works. So what I'd like you to do is right now at the top of my screen, I have English and Spanish selected. You can choose whatever language you'd like. In this case, sometimes it's good to choose English and another language that you might speak, so you can see if the translation is working for you. So what I'd like you to do is just tap your text box and just type in a simple phrase or a word, and make sure you press the little blue arrow button. So let's try that together, okay? I'm hoping that everyone is connected to Wi-Fi right now. That'll be important for going through this part of the presentation. So here I am, and you can see my translation. I have the translation below, but I want to make sure I've hit my blue arrow button. So I hit my blue arrow button. I wrote the day Monday, because that's where we are, and I bring up this blue box. I'm going to give everyone a moment to do that. Again, if you're having any problems, just send me a message. We can troubleshoot together. Now, when I am in this blue box, I have a couple different options of things I can do. The first thing I might want to do is right beside the word lunes, I can actually press the little speaker button and have my translation said for me aloud. So.
Lunes.
So hopefully you are hearing your translation when you press your little speaker button there. The other things you can do is turn your phone sideways, and then you have a sign. This might be helpful in, you know, a museum setting where, you know, you want to be able to, you know, explain what something is. Within a museum, you can have a sign as well. And I just straighten my phone, and I come back to my little blue screen here. I know that for some Android phones, it just has 3 dots going down. I'm on an iPhone, so you might not have all these little features at the bottom. Some of the Androids just have the 3 dots going down. You can click on those 3 dots, and it should bring you to widescreen or full screen. That will also give you the sign mode as well if you're having any problems bringing up your sign. Other things you can do is there is a little star button right there. If I click my star button, I'm essentially favoriting this phrase or whatever my translation is. Now, in an iPhone, I can go and press my little stars, and this is essentially my phrase book. And I will always have lunes or Monday translated in my phone. So rather than texting it or typing it again, I can always go to my favorites and it shows up again. This is helpful if, you know, it's going to be a phrase that you say all the time, welcome to the museum, or, you know, it's something that you're going to be using quite often and you want to be able to call it up quite quickly. I'm hoping nobody is having any questions. I don't see any questions in the chat box right now. Again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. The other thing you can do is copy the translation. I can click here and have access to message, email. So I have lots of access and lots of capabilities when I have this little blue box illuminated. Okay. Oh, thank you, Sarah. I'm glad you're thinking it's really cool. Okay, so if everyone is feeling relatively comfortable, perhaps if anybody is not feeling comfortable with the text to translate, please send me a little message in the next minute or so. If I don't hear or get any messages, I'm going to move on to the next feature. Again,
I'll also cut in here and say that I've been doing it on mine, and so I can turn it. And so I don't know if anybody speaks French, but I'm saying hello and how are you? So it's really cool.
Okay. So thank you, Ben, showing us that it really works. Normally I do these in front of people so I can get everyone to hold up their screen and I know we're all at the same place and we're all moving ahead together. So I hope everyone is moving with me. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to go to the pen or the squiggly line. You'll either see it as a pen or a squiggly line. So I click on the little pen. Now, this is going to take me to another box. So you can see I have a writing box down below. It will be very important. And if anyone who's taking this webinar right now speaks a language that uses characters, I would suggest that they can be the guinea pig for this and try writing a character and having it translated. But first and foremost, you would need to select the languages up at the top to make sure that you've got the correct inputting language. So if that would be the character language, and then the output language would probably, in this case, be English. Now, unfortunately, I don't write in a language that has characters, but I'm going to show you that again. I could, sorry, do you have a question?
Well, I was just going to say, if anybody does that, you can write in the comment box, and I should be able to promote you to a panelist. So if you have a webcam and you want to do that, we can probably get you up and show you doing that. If there is anybody, just write it in the message, and we'll do that.
No pressure. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to go English to Spanish, and I'm just going to write the word today. So I've written the word today. It gives me some options at the top. Did I mean to write today? Was this supposed to be another word? So I see that I can select today, and I select it. It moves it up to the top. And then I press again my little blue arrow button. Oops. And I bring back my blue screen here with my translation that I can this is again been translated into Spanish, so it's hoy. And I can listen to my translation. I have all the capacities here. If you look down as well, you also have some alternative translations and definitions. So another good reason to bring up that blue box and press that little arrow is it gives you some more functions, alternative translations, definitions. So that's always quite handy. So again, I don't know how much you would actually use the written translation or sort of the writing function, but it is handy if you're communicating with someone whose language has characters, written characters that are not normally found on a keyboard. If anybody has any questions with that, please feel free to send a message down below. Okay, so the next thing we're going to move into is the microphone function. And what I would really like, but I won't be able to tell if you're doing this, is if you could just watch me first. I can show you a few things that are going to make this a lot easier. Oh, I just typed I just typed a full sentence to translate, and each word I wrote was added to the translated sentence. So, Louis, did it work for you? I wrote, not typed. Yes. Oh, great. Okay, wonderful. So yeah, so you can also write with your finger, you know, if you didn't want to type in your translation. So it's not just for people who speak in characters. If you or write in characters, you can write in any language. So glad that worked out for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the microphone feature, and if you don't mind, I'll show you first, and then you can try it. Okay. As I said, the microphone feature, it is the little icon in the middle. So what I'm going to show you is I click my microphone, and it moves me into this screen where it's automatically recording everything I say.
Y me conmueve en esta pantalla donde está grabando automáticamente todo lo que digo.
I don't want it to do that. So what I do, because again, we want simple, clear sentences, and sometimes we have to think about what that's going to be. So my suggestion is when you press your microphone, click on the microphone when it moves you to the next screen, and that turns the mic off. Okay, then now we have a moment where we can think, okay, what is it I want to say, and make sure that we're using clear, simple sentences. The app actually works better when it's listening for one language or the other. So what I want to do right now is I'm going to start by pressing English, and if you can just watch, that would be great. Hello, how are you today?
Hola, ¿cómo estás hoy?
So we heard the playback. Now I'm going to respond in Spanish. Estoy muy bien, gracias. ¿Y usted?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
So you can see that I pressed the English to listen for the English and Spanish when I wanted it to pick up the Spanish. It works better that way. And it's a little bit disjointed, but at this point, you'll get a better translation, and you'll be able to make sure that it doesn't start picking up parts of your speech that you don't actually want it to. If at any point you want to clear your translation, there's a little X button, and you can just clear that. So go ahead and give it a try. Again, my suggestion is you press the microphone button and then turn the mic off. When you're ready, press the first language that you want to input. In this case, it was English for me, and I recorded something. So I'm going to give everybody a chance to do that. Make sure your volume is turned up so you hear the playback on your phone.
Kate, I have to jump in here because I had a very funny translate fail. Yeah, it's sort of like Sarah. I think my terrible French accent may have made it worse. I was asking whether or not I like the museum, and then I responded in French, and it came back, yes, I like well the misery. So I don't know how that reflects our industry, but that's my one that didn't work today.
Yes, it's a good movie, Ben. Yes, so So yes, again, it's sometimes not going to be perfect, but that's why I always like to try it in a language that I do understand, so that I can get comfortable saying, okay, well, how is the translation? And I hope it's working for other people, and the museum's not a miserable place. Don't feel bad about that. I'll just give everybody a few more minutes to try that out. And again, if you're having any issues, please send me a message in the text box.
Yeah, we've heard from Sarah so far, and from Lewis saying that it works. Anybody else having it working? Marilyn has a question about whether or not you can send audio as text. I guess that would be the audio file. I don't know if that's something that works, Kate.
I don't believe you can at this point. No, like save the audio recording and have that sent. At this point, you cannot do that, unfortunately. It's simply sort of in-person translation. So it doesn't work, for example, over the phone to use it. Well, it would be very challenging to use it over the phone, the audio version.
Did anybody else give it a try? Leah got it working. Anybody have a good language, a good second language that they speak? Probably all too busy translating things.
Okay, so we're going to move on to the next feature, and so this is the camera feature. And so you can click on your little camera. Again, I'm translating from English to Spanish. Now, essentially, I can go to any sign. So I'm going to try to see if I can actually show you this. And you can see it is translating. Oh, this is very challenging. In real time, or it's trying to, my little brochure here. Okay, so obviously you can try this better. Hop up from where you're sitting, walk on over to a sign. I have some behind me, and you can literally hold your camera up. And you should be able to get a translation here. I'll show you another one here. Wonderful. You're having lots of success there. Translating the chat window, great. Yes, so you're translating the chat window through your camera. That's great. Yes, you can do that as well. I'm like what Kara said is she's actually holding her camera up to the chat window where you're writing all your questions and seeing it translated. Now, let's say, for example, it's a long, but you can see, I wondered this too, the only language that works through the camera is French. Typically, it's going to be English translating to any other language that in the camera that works best. There might be a few languages where you can use a few other languages, but typically it's going to be English to other languages because it's not available in all of the languages. So go ahead, Ben.
And what I found was like I just did a stop sign, tried to translate it with the camera. When I first turned on the camera, because I've never used the app before, I had to download just a small file just to make it work. So if it's only working in French, try a different language and see whether it asks you to download it. Maybe that seemed to work for me. I tried it in Arabic and French.
Yeah, so Sarah, you might need to go back out, and when you come in, it will ask you if you want to download a file. You might have to do that to get the camera to start working for you. But now if I'm holding my camera up and I am trying to translate, for example, I'm looking at the screen, I'm looking at our chat box and having it translated through my window. That's great, but it always sort of is moving and changing. So let's say I wanted to translate, you know, a document like a brochure, okay? I would want someone to have to sit and try to read the translation through the camera lens. So what you can actually do is, again, I'm holding the camera here and I'm going to push on the camera button. It is now scanning. You can see it scanning. And I should have some little boxes, very small, hard to see, around each word. I take my finger and I highlight the words I'd like to have translated. And then again, I see my little blue arrow screen. I click on the blue arrow. And again, I should have my English translation above, my English, what I copied above, and the translation below. And again, here with my little blue box, I can copy, I can send this in an email, I could hold it up as a sign that people could read through. So there's a few different options there. So give that a try. With something that has slightly longer text. So again, you're just in your camera button, you hold it up, and instead of just holding it there, sorry, I'm trying to give you guys a little bit of a, instead of just holding it there, make sure you press that red button at the bottom. It will scan the document. It puts boxes around the words I would like to have translated. I highlight those with my finger. And then I can press the blue little arrow to translate. Great to hear, Lewis, that the translation was almost spot on. I'm glad to hear that. So, so this is probably this is one of the coolest features. And again, you know, the one thing I would say is if you are trying to translate a brochure or you know, an important promotion material, this is a great place to start, but it might also be worthwhile to have it, sorry, checked over by a native language speaker or an interpreter, just to make sure that your translation is right. If it's something that is going to the media or you're going to be putting out for print, you know, this will give you a good first translation, and you could pass it along to a native speaker or an interpreter who might be able to take it a little bit farther for you, make sure that everything's correct. So is everyone feeling pretty comfortable with the camera function? If you're not, please send me a chat and we'll continue moving on. Again, while we're here, I'm just going to show you, this is your little settings button. I can go in and I can do speech input. That's where your speech input to select dialects are. And this is also where you can clear your translation history. Just that red button at the bottom. But this is not going to clear things that you have favorited. And I think in an Android, if I go back to my home screen, your sort of settings box is indicated by 3 lines at the top. And so you click on those 3 lines. In the iPhone, it has sort of the little settings down here. I think on the Android, most times it's indicated by 3 little lines, and you click on that to get into your speech input, where you can change dialects, or where you can translate, or sorry, where you can clear your translation history. Sorry, I'm just fixing my chair here. So I'm not seeing any other questions right now. I'm going to come back and share my screen with you quickly, and we're just going to move through a few other key things with the app. So I'm just going to move back into there. Okay. So we're going to continue to move through the PowerPoint. There's only a little bit left. So downloading languages for offline text and instant camera translation. So this is saying that offline you will have access to the text and the instant camera translation. So Google believes that it does work, and it probably does. This is available, the 52 languages are available offline to download. And, oops, sorry. And essentially what you do is when you're in your home screen, you just click on the language at the top, and you should see those little sort of arrows with the line below it. You can click on the download button. You'll be asked to confirm the download, and then you'll have access to that language offline when you're not connected to Wi-Fi or you don't have data. And you know you've downloaded it if you have, you can go back to sort of the number one camera, little one phone, and you have a line with a check mark. So those will be the languages that you have downloaded offline. So there is a couple features that are specific just to Android users. I'm going to show you the tap to translate because it is a good feature. While I'm not sure how much you're going to use it in the museum setting, I think it's a useful feature for Android users to have access to. I hope there's someone with an Android phone here. So I'm just going to show you a quick video as to how it works.
We've all been there. You have something in your phone that you need to translate. Maybe it's a text from your coworkers, a YouTube comment, or a post from a friend, and you just need to know what it says. But it's actually a lot of steps to translate it. You copy it, switch apps, paste, translate, reply, switch back, and hit send. You do that with every message, over and over and over. So we had an idea. What if instead of switching apps, Translate was accessible from inside any app? So you could translate any text right there. It's something we're calling Tap to Translate, a feature in the new Google Translate app. Here's how it works. Say you're chatting in WhatsApp. Maybe your roommates all speak Hindi, but you don't. And you're wondering what this is. Just copy the text like you always do, and the translation appears right up here. You can even hear how to say it. Shubh Shukravar. Maybe you want to impress them by replying in Hindi. So you type, let's party. You drop it in and hit send. You did it all without switching apps. And of course, it works in any app. Anytime you copy text, you might want to translate. It works offline too. So if you don't have a connection at the moment, you can still translate stuff. Tap to Translate. Get it with the new Google Translate app for your Android phone.
Okay, so if you're an Android user, you're going to go into your settings within Google Translate. It's the settings button within Google Translate. And typically, oops, do we have another question here? Okay, not sure. I hope everything's working, Sarah. So when you go to your settings within the Google Translate app, if you're on an Android phone, you should see a Tap to Translate little heading there. You see it on the right, and then you just go Enable Tap to Translate. Once you've enabled your Tap to Translate, you can go into any app, whether it's WhatsApp, and whenever you are in an app and you copy the text, so you select the text with your finger and you press the copy button. It's typically shown by those little two pieces of paper on top of each other. You should immediately see a little Google Translate button pop up. So if anybody out there wants to try that out, again, you have to go into Google Translate settings, not your general settings for your phone, the Google Translate settings. You go, there should be a button that says tap to translate, and just enable tap to translate. Then go into any message or any messaging app. I think it even works, anywhere where you might copy text. You hold down your finger, select the text, press that copy button, and you should get a little Google Translate button that shows up that offers you an opportunity. You click on that little button or the little icon, and it offers translation for what you've just selected. I hope that's working for people. Oh, I understand, Sarah. It defaulted to Samsung has a translate. Oh, okay, I understand. I gotcha. Is the tap to translate available on iPhones? At this point, no, it's not. If you go into your settings, they do not have the tap to translate for iPhones at this point. So hopefully it will. Great, Courtney, I'm glad it's working for you. Okay, I'm gonna move through just a little bit more here. I know we are almost out of time. So I'm going to skip over the Google board, but again, this is available for Android users. You could install essentially a new keyboard to your phone that gives you access to Google Translate. The one thing I don't like is we often get really used to our own sort of keyboards on our phones, and if you do download it, you want to make sure you know how to go into your general phone settings to turn that keyboard on and off. But you do go to the App Store and you download the Gboard if you want to try that. And essentially you can be texting and it will be translating into the language that you want right within those apps when you have that keyboard selected. But again, it's a different keyboard that sometimes, if you do download it, you want to make sure you know how to get in and out of the keyboard, because sometimes it's a bit weird to have a different keyboard that you're not used to. So far we have learned how to type to translate, write to translate, talk through our microphone function, see with our camera, download and translate offline. We've talked a little bit about the tap to translate, and the Gboard. If you feel like taking a look at that, you can download it for Androids in your iPhone. Ben, can you tell me, am I completely out of time?
We can probably do another 5 to 10 minutes if people want to stick around, and if not, thanks to everybody who needs to head off for lunch. Okay, literally, the last thing I'm going to show you will take about a minute. And then we can have questions. Yes, Google Translate is available on tablets, and that's what I did a training at the Art Gallery of Greater Victoria, and they're going to get some tablets that they can give out to their staff, so they can use that. Again, you have a bigger sign, and you're not asking staff to use their own phone. So it does work on tablets. And that was a question from Lewis. So very quickly, if you have access in your workplace to Google Chrome, you can download an extension that's going to allow you to translate content on the web right in there, no copying or pasting or anything like that. So this is the only page I'm going to recommend, or when we get to it, to take a picture of. But essentially, when you have a
a Google Chrome browser open, you can download an extension, and you can see there, there's a little, up by the URL bar, if you look over beside the star, there's that little Google Translate icon. When you click on that icon, it gives you this lower sort of text box that asks, this page is in Portuguese, would you like to translate it? And so that's what this extension gives you access to. In our case, it might be this website is in English. Would you like to translate it to another language? So if I have someone coming to see me, I want to be able to translate something from my website to show them. It could be helpful in that way. So first thing you have to do is get a Google Chrome and have access to Google Chrome on your desktop or on your laptop. And then you need to get an extension. And this is the only page that I would suggest taking a picture of right here. So what you do is you're in Google Chrome, browsing in Google Chrome, and you bring up a Google search. You're going to type in your Google search, Google Web Store. You can see it there. Take a picture of this page. And you click on the first results that show up after you've done the Google Web Store search. Then you search and download the Translate extension. So within the Google Chrome store, you'll see there's extensions. You click on that and search for the Translate extension. You'll see you're in the right place if you get that box number 3 down there, and you download it, and that is going to give you that little Google Translate icon that can translate anything on the web for you right there.
And if anybody is having trouble taking a screenshot, I have grabbed one so I can send that out to everybody who attended as well.
Perfect, perfect. So that is the end of the presentation. If anybody has any follow-up questions, I'm happy to be here to answer those right now. Do I know if there's something similar for sign language? I don't know. I am not familiar with that. I'm sorry. And yes, this is great for working, hopefully, and engaging newcomers in your museums, but also when you're a newcomer going on your vacations and traveling, hopefully you'll be able to use Google Translate personally as well. Thank you very much, Sarah. So there are some decals, and I believe, Ben, we have a plan for being able to get these decals out. Again, I can just show you, we have a window decal, a little sticker, and we also have these I Speak Translate buttons. And I believe Ben and I are going to work together to get those out to everyone who participated.
Yeah, so what we're going to hopefully do, and actually what I'm going to do, Kate, is if you can stop sharing your screen, yes. I'll put mine back up. And so, did that work? Can you see the join next month stuff there? Perfect. Okay, so what we're going to do is I have a little follow-up survey that I send out after every webinar, and so I'm going to send that out to everybody who was registered and participated in this event. And if you fill out that follow-up survey, we'll make sure we have your information. We'll send it out to you as soon as we can. So I'm going to work with Kate on that. Kate's really busy this week. She actually has, it's International Refugee Day tomorrow, right? That's the big one. So thanks very much to Kate for taking time out to teach us this. Really interesting. I've been playing around with it in the office for the last hour. So really cool. And I think that a lot of people are recognizing the importance of this for museums. I noticed Lewis said that it's really helpful for the reinvention of his museum. That's one of the reasons why we thought this would be great to bring Kate in. I think it's a really great opportunity for us as a field to start welcoming people and do it in an easier way than just a handout, and possibly an out-of-date handout at that for many museums. So really cool to be able to see how we can bring that into our field and work that together in museums. So thanks very much to Kate. I don't see any more questions, so I think we can say that that this is over. If you do have any questions about other webinars, feel free to send me an email. bfast@museumsassn.bc.ca. And I hope that you'll join us next month. We have the 4 Ps of public programming with Leslie Moore. So we're going to be learning all about different elements of public programming and how to get started in that. And the link is live, so you are ready to go and sign up for that if you're interested, and feel free to tell all your friends. So thanks again to Kate. Please fill out your surveys, and we'll see you next month. Oh, Marilyn, quick question. Is this webinar available offline? I think that for this one, Kate, you were saying that you can't send out the slides. Is that correct?
Unfortunately not. I'd be happy to, organize, if you're looking for more training. I'm hoping, Ben, that you can include my contact information, and we could arrange to do, again, if the distance is an issue, we could do a webinar or something like this for your own staff. So I'd be happy to do this again, but at this point, it's not available offline.
Okay. Yeah, Marilyn, I know you had some trouble signing in at the beginning there, so sorry for that. But we'll hopefully get you the contact information and find a solution that works. All right, thanks everybody. Really glad to have you join us this week.